Part 28. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 271. Chapter 271. Where is the interest? So, how can you be sure that this opportunity is that I will become the Hokage you wish as you think? Satoru's straightforward words made Fuyu silent for a moment. I think about the future of Uchiha and the village all the time. After many calculations, I think this is the most likely future. Fuyu was a little vague, but Satoru keenly noticed that he subconsciously turned his gaze away. Estimate, indeed, based on the current conditions, it is possible to infer a possible future. But that is based on the premise that the information learned is sufficiently complete and accurate. There was a faint purple light flashing in Wu's eyes, and he already had some guesses. He just said that Fuyu was qualified to take over Hokage, but the other party just said that he could not be qualified because of his defense failure. However, another important condition for becoming Hokage. Strength, but not a word. There are two possibilities. First, the opponent believes that compared with the people he mentioned before, in the matter of competing for Hokage, strength is much less important than prestige. Wu felt that Fuyu should not be such an idiot. With Fugaku's current strength, although it can be said to have Kage-level strength, it is at most the level of the fourth generation of Kazekage. And the reason why Ludo Sha can become the fourth Kazekage is because at that time, apart from Joe, there was really no one stronger than him in Hidden Sand Village, and there was also Kazekage's exclusive function of magnetic escape and blood successor limit. But switch to Konoha. Then the second possibility is that Fuyu subconsciously believes that he has at least the same strength as those few people. It may not be possible to win, but at least the strength is at one level. Even if his strength is about the same as that of the weakest Naoshu, Naoshu's identity bonus points are much stronger than him. What's more, in terms of Naoki's war experience, Anbi's resume, and bloodline bonus, in a real fight, even if he is slightly stronger than Naoki, it is still a question of who will suppress who. If it wasn't for the suppression of strength, would he ignore this? In other words, he thinks he really has the same strength as Sunin and Minato. Why is he? Uchiha secret technique. 3 Guya Sharinan? Don't even think about it. The only possibility is kaleidoscopic Sharinan. Fuyu subconsciously touched his right eye again. Now in Wu's eyes, it has a special meaning. At the same time, Wu also had guesses about the other party's behavior that he did not intend to reveal at all. Captain Fuyu is worthy of being the captain of the police force, and his skills in reasoning and solving cases are superb. Presumably the inferences about the future are also based on these experiences. Enlightenment's soft admiration stunned Fuyu, and his expression softened immediately. This, I'm honored, I just don't know, Wu, do you agree with my deduction? Well, although I really want to say that your deduction is good, but unfortunately, I have no interest in Hokage at all. Wu spread his hands, and saw Fuyu's shocked expression as expected. It's really not easy to see Captain Fuyu's shocked look. Fuyu ignores Sato's joke. To him, Sato has no interest in Hokage, and it's not in his consideration at all. Even though Mikan had told him before that Wu's so-called ideal of staying at home until he dies was taken for granted by the rigorous him, he didn't take it to heart at all. That's a joke of Wu. The whole Konoha knows Wu's wish. I'm afraid not to take it as a joke, not more than one hand. People have always just used it as an excuse for Satoru to be lazy and play tricks. Fuyu never thought about it. Wu really thought so. He closed his eyes tightly, suppressing his instinctive desire to peep, and opened them after a while. I really didn't think of this, so my deduction will be completely overturned. With a wry smile helplessly, Fuyu knew that if Satoru was unwilling to take over as Hokage, then Uchiha's future would change from almost certain improvement to uncertainty again. But enlightenment, becoming Hokage is the idea of most capable people in the village. Why, don't you care? To be honest, becoming Hokage is also Uchiha Fugaku's ideal. I have to suppress this ideal due to many difficulties, but the person who is most likely to succeed has no interest at all. Fuyu's mood is extremely complicated. Well, if you really say that, in fact, those candidates you mentioned at the beginning. Wu stroked his chin and said with a smile. At least Jiraiya-sensei wouldn't want to be Hokage, Tsunade-sensei, unless she had to, she probably didn't think about it. Even Mr. Orochimaru, he just takes it for granted that he is qualified to be the one, but whether he really wants to be one, maybe he wanted to before, but now, it's hard to say. As for Rope Tree and Minato, they really want to become Hokage, the will of fire, they have something they want to protect urgently. Don't you? You don't have anything to protect? That's why you don't care about Hokage? Hearing Sunin's attitude, Fugaku was stunned for a moment, but when he heard Satoru's evaluation of Naoki and Minato, he couldn't help asking. He also wants to be Hokage himself, and he has something he wants to protect. Moreover, strictly speaking, although he is a bit older, he is still a generation younger than Sunin, just like Naoki, Minato, and Satoru. His thoughts should be relatively close to Wu and the three of them. But now it has been proven that Satoru thinks completely differently from the three of their contemporaries. So what is Wu's thinking? Of course I have things I want to protect, but I'm not like them. Enlightenment looked at Fuyu's eager eyes, and probably understood what the other party was thinking. It's just that I think that the position of Hokage will be a means for me to achieve my goal, not really a shackle, but also a delay. Enlightenment pointed to himself, emphasizing again seriously. I'm an academic, a researcher, and I can use my research to help a lot of people, like this war. Fuyu nodded subconsciously. Whether it was the earliest scroll of Blink, or the current enchanted armor, enchanted ninja equipment, portals, war mechs, etc., they are all examples of Wu's research results changing the situation of war. So, I need a lot of time to concentrate on research. I am duty-bound to deal with Jainin and even the commander of the defense line. After all, it is more urgent here. But in the peaceful age after the war, if I become Hokage, a lot of trivial matters will force me to have no time and energy to get involved in more and more advanced research. Enlightened every word. This is my loss, the loss of the village, and the loss of the entire ninja world. Although Fuyu couldn't help but want to complain for a moment, but he knew very well. What Wu said is true. He is indeed qualified to say so. But, if you don't become Hokage, then when a new Hokage appears, how should you deal with yourself? Fuyu took a deep breath and calmed down again. Is it the same as your father might an advisor? Not interested in. Wu categorically rejected. However, I am very interested in the matter of the Uchiha clan. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziyu. Chapter 272. Chapter 272 Sharingan's Imagination. Are you interested in our family's affairs? For a moment, Fuyu felt that Wu's eyes on him were dazzling. It's like wanting to slice yourself. Shaking his head, Fuyu tried hard to dispel this ridiculous idea. How to say? Originally, after Satoru refused to become Hokage, Fuyu was already very disappointed, but now, inexplicably, he wanted to hear what Satoru thought. In the final analysis, everything is for Uchiha. Your Uchiha clan's blood successor limit, Sharingan, its special eye-opening and growth conditions are the root cause of the gap between you and the village. Satoru looked at Fuyu, whose face became serious, and brought the topic back to the beginning. In the final analysis, your purpose is to prevent the Uchiha clan from continuing to separate from the village, and through the support of Hokage, and to change the root of the problem. Which one do you think is more reliable? Change the root of the problem. Fuyu felt that he came to see enlightenment today, adding up the surprises he had lived for all these years, he did not experience as much today. This, I don't deny that the root of the problem is just like what you said, but if the particularity of Sharingan can be changed, it doesn't have to wait until now. In history, Uchiha also had predecessors who realized this, but they couldn't do it. Fuyu calmed down his excitement, and sighed. In fact, the second generation of Hokage, Senshouban, also studied the Sharingan, but in the end, the Uchiha clan is now in this situation. Now that he has already spoken out his support for Wuudane Hokage, Fuyu doesn't care to say more about what he knows. Wu, you should have some understanding of this matter. Although the high-level officials have been concealing the news, as the head of the Uchiha clan, I still understand some of the reasons. Fuyu stretched out 2 fingers and said seriously. There are 2 roads, one has no hope at all, and the other is almost in front of us. No, the other is also dead. There's no hope at all? Enlightenment looked at Fuyu's decadent look, and shook his head disapprovingly. I don't think so. It is possible to eradicate the disadvantages of Sharingan. What? Fuyu suddenly raised his head, this time his eyes were 3 pitch-black hook jades. You say that, on what grounds? The things Wu had already done undoubtedly added weight to his words. Otherwise, Uchiha Fugaku would simply treat him as nonsense. Independently developed the bleeding succession boundary, created its own special fairy mode, used the time and space technique to perfection, and its own strength has even clearly surpassed the shadow. Fuyu felt that there was no need for such an enlightened person to make fun of him in this kind of matter. Well, I'm currently doing research on energy transmission and yin-yang escape. You also know that the pupil technique of writing sharing eyes is a special yin escape blood inheritance boundary. Satoru revealed the essence of Sharingan in one mouthful. In front of ninjas of Fuyu's level, it was no secret to him that ordinary ninjas didn't understand yin-yang done. That's right, the pupil art of Sharingan is mainly illusion, and it is indeed yin done. Fuyu nodded cautiously. This is already a high-level secret of the Uchiha clan, but since Senju Fujian can research it, it is not surprising that Satoru knows it. After all, he has such a good relationship with the Thousand Hands clan. But, judging by Wu's appearance, he still knows more. Illusion. Wu is non-committal. Then the pinnacle of illusion, the pinnacle of spiritual power, creating form from nothing, that is the power of a higher realm of Sharingan. Taking a deep look at the somewhat nervous Fuyu, Satoru said a noun. For example, Susanoo. Fuyu could hardly bear to stand up, but reason stopped him, and after a long time, he smiled wryly. You even know this. It seems that you have basically mastered the research materials of the Thousand Hands clan. Well, that's right. Satoru didn't correct Fuyu's misunderstanding, on the contrary, he thought it was better. The source of the Uchiha family's jealousy in the village is Kaleidoscope Sharingan, which can activate the godlike Susanoo and control the natural disaster like Kuwabai. These are the reasons why the Uchiha and the village are separated. To put it more bluntly, there was once a Uchiha who used this kind of power to attack the village, and the Uchiha clan would be feared. Madara-sama. In Fuyu's eyes, there was a touch of complexity uncontrollably. As the head of the Uchiha clan, Fuyu has always had complicated feelings about the other founder of Konoha Hidden Village, Uchiha Madara. Madara's strength, Madara's independence, Madara's wish, Madara's failure, and the Uchiha clan, the betrayal of Madara. Compared to ordinary Sharingan, the eye-opening conditions of Kaleidoscope Sharingan are even harsher. It is simply a power that exists for hatred. The more you hate, the darker you are, the stronger your power will be. Wu didn't care what Fuyu thought, he continued on his own. The second generation of Hokage, Senshoutamona, has researched that the opening eyes of ordinary Sharingan are people of the Uchiha clan. The spirit is stimulated, which causes the brain to secrete special chakra to stimulate the optic nerve, thus opening the soul-reflecting pupil. Sharingan is synchronized with the power of the mind, which can make people stronger quickly, and the side effect of this process is that they cannot grasp the mind and quickly fall into darkness. Most Uchihas have a delicate mind. For such a person, the more stimulated they are, the faster they become stronger, and the faster and stronger their psychology will be out of balance. The stronger the emotion, the stronger the power, the more easily the spirit will be affected by hatred and darkness, and in turn, the stronger the pupil power, the faster it will fall into darkness. This is a vicious circle, but for those who pursue power, this is an irresistible temptation. Fuyu was silent. In Wu's words, there were many key points that even he had only half understood at first, but now they suddenly understood. Satoru paused for a moment, then continued to deepen the topic. In addition, Captain Fuyu, you should also know that the Sharingan that has successfully opened its eyes can be transplanted to people without Uchiha blood, and it is also effective. It can even continue to grow. Over the years, it is not that there are foreigners who have not obtained Sharingan, but they were all disposed of by you in time. And the Uchiha people who have lost Sharingan can also use some special powers of Sharingan to a limited extent. This situation undoubtedly shows that the opening of Sharingan is a critical period for the special chakra influenced by the spirit to play a role, and once the eyes are opened, Sharingan itself has this special chakra. This is the ability commonly known as pupil power, and this ability of the brain has not disappeared. The so-called Uchiha physique can perfectly exert the power of Sharingan. Now it seems that it should be the cooperation of the chakra produced by the brain and eyes in order to control the Sharingan more easily. So, Satoru's purple eyes met Fugaku's scarlet eyes. This special chakra, which is affected by mental stimulation, is the key to the problem. If the relationship between this special chakra and spirit can be deciphered, they can be separated, and other safer methods can be used to allow it to grow and even grow. Uchiha Fugaku closed his eyes abruptly, opened them again after a while, and murmured. This will change the fate of the entire Uchiha clan. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 273. Chapter 273. I've been coveting this staff for a long time. The conversation between Satoru and Uchiha Fugaku is over. Mikan found that since Fuyu came back from Wu, there has been a lot of changes. How specific it is temporarily impossible to say, but it feels like Fuyu became more active and confident. There are even more smiles on the always serious face. Therefore, Mikan found Wu and thanked her personally. Wu-jun, thanks to you, Fuyu looks much better. Well, Sister Mikan, don't worry, Captain Fuyu has found a path and a goal for the future, so it's only natural to cheer up. Wu smiled and waved his hands, then said seriously. Sister Mikan, the most important thing right now is to end this war, but Captain Fujigaku said that he will bring Itaka to the battlefield to experience the war. Do you agree with this? Fuyu's decision, I support it. Mikoto hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Although I am very reluctant, I have also come all the way from the war. In this defensive war, the lack of war experience of the clansmen was fully reflected. As the son of the patriarch, Itaka couldn't make this mistake again. Although I hate war very much, I have to admit that only by understanding war can I fight war. Besides, in the current war situation, he will not be in danger. Well, I'm really speechless about the way you raise children. How old is Itaka? 4 years old. Satoru doesn't agree with Mikoto and Fuyu's thoughts, but considering that the husband and wife are both Uchihas and powerful Uchihas, it doesn't seem surprising that they would do such a thing. Zishui in the clan has been on the battlefield since he was just over 6 years old, and now he is 7 years old, but he has already opened 2 round eyes. Mikoto smiled and shook her head. This is the future Uchiha powerhouse. If Itaka doesn't work hard, it will be difficult to catch up with him. Uchiha Shisui. Wu pondered for a moment, then nodded in understanding. Bring the cat to the weasel, it will save your life at critical moments. Of course, thank you, Wu. Finally, under the constant harassment and attacks from various countries, Satoru completed the final preparations for the portal. The current teleportation gate needs to be maintained by Wu himself, so that he can teleport troops to multiple destinations without limitation. If Wu is released, then the teleportation between the 2 points can only be maintained. In the final analysis, there is still no magic net problem. If you don't have half of the Dragon Vein Chakra, if you want to achieve the same effect, you may have to discuss it with Nine Tails. However, although Satoru was unable to go to the battlefield himself before the final battle, Onoki was still tired of dealing with AI sneak attack. When the results of the portal came out, it was too late for them to make other changes. Then the last step is a casting medium. In the personal space, Wu touched his chin and glanced at the metal chakra staff in his hand. Precious chakra metal is used as a large weapon like a staff, and I don't know how many people lament its wastefulness. Now, it's time for it to play an important role. Using Wu's usual staff as the positioning coordinates, Wu only needs to provide arcane energy, saving a lot of energy. Staff, the old one doesn't go away and the new one doesn't come, he. Wu smiled and rubbed his hands. The book of Medivh floating beside him quickly turned the pages and stopped on a page. Summoning spell, Adiash Guardian's legendary staff. Already firmly in the realm of the Archmage, and with the help of the Dragon Vein Transformation Arcana and the evolved Medivh book, he wants to try to summon this powerful artifact held by the previous guardians of Tirisfal. I'm sorry, Mage Kadger, even if a projection is summoned, it will be easier to use than this chakra metal rod. Happy to prepare the summoning instrument, Wu took a deep breath and calmed down. This is no ordinary call. This is a cross-border call. Adiash is in the hands of the current guardian, Archmage Kadger. Even on this point alone, it is basically impossible to summon Adiash's body, right? Always try. Wu uttered the summoning spell in a low voice, and the book of Medivh exuded a brilliant arcane brilliance. Summon Adiash. Boom. The summoning instrument erupted with a strong light, and Wu could feel that the space had been torn apart, and somewhere far and deep, there was some target responding to the summoning of the instrument. Very good, work harder. The light in both eyes exploded, Wu's body was covered with jumping arcane sparks, and the huge arcane energy in the book of Medivh was also invoked. Buzz. Wu frowned, as expected, in that unknown place, the target who answered the call was being restrained by another huge force. Kadger is indeed a very powerful force, but should not be at the level of a guardian. It was clear in his heart, and Wu understood that it was because Kadger did not inherit the huge arcane power inheritance of previous guardians. However, just relying on his own strength, Wu has already been amazed. It's amazing, if I didn't have the energy of the dragon veins, I wouldn't even have the chance to fight with him, and I would have been cut off directly. Even now, he should be relaxed and happy when he hits me a few times. Satoru lamented Kadger's strength, which was his own strength. However, if it is said to summon a projection, it is still barely, A sudden change, a strange existence, seems to be between the virtual and the real, abruptly cutting off the link between Weavue and Adiash. Moreover, this existence has anchored the link of the summoning instrument to itself. What's the situation? Enlightenment's eyes widened. What could have tampered with the Guardian's secret summoning ritual? And this is a cross-boundary call. Oops. This thing seemed to be impatiently trying to get out of its original position, but it didn't resist at all, and seemed to be fueling the flames. Shua. The summoning ritual was completed, and that thing was summoned by Wu. SHH. The vibration and strong light of the magic instrument dissipated, and Wu was surrounded by arcane magic balls. He had prepared the most powerful arcane impact in his hands, and was ready for battle. Ugh! Finally, out of a place full of noisy goblins and boring gold coins, it's an exciting thing. Oh, sure enough, this is a world full of magic power. Although this is still a space fragment that has been opened up, it can't be hidden from the Great Me. Ah, let the Great Me take a look, which interesting archmage is actually snatching that stinky crow stick from the current guardian. I almost died laughing. Enlightenment stared dumbfounded at the beautiful staff floating in the center of the instrument, flowing with arcane brilliance. Aliens. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 274. Chapter 274, Aliens, the Staff of the Guardian. Staff of Aluneth the Guardian. Azeroth is littered with legendary relics and artifacts, but none can rival Aluneth. For hundreds of years, Egwin, the former guardian of Tirisfal, has used this staff to defend Azeroth from the Burning Legion. However, this alone is not enough to make this weapon so special. A pure and powerful entity of arcane energy is bound within this staff. It is called Aluneth. That is to say, this staff has its own consciousness. And unfortunately, it's a chatterbox. Therefore, this arcane artifact has another name of microphone. There is no spell to summon Aluneth in the Book of Medivh. Because Aluneth is actually Medivh's mother, a powerful weapon made by the guardian Egwin. And this weapon had cheated her when she was fighting the power projection of the fallen titan Sargeras. The staff was not passed to Medivh at all, but was entrusted to the Kirin Tor in Egwin's later years. So, apart from the footman archmage who later needed its power to save the world, even Medivh and Kadger didn't know how to summon it. And now, it actually appeared in Wu's cross-boundary summoning ritual. Why are you here? Of course Satoru knew aliens, and even when he held it as a footman, he was very annoyed by this guy. Ah, and all those bloody times spent trying to give it liver skin. Oh. Looks like you know me, kid. Aluneth's mouth is still broken, but it? Then hurry up and take me there? Destroy the ritual. If you don't want the Guardian to trace back to you. Wu grinned, stepped forward and waved away the teleportation instrument, and summoned the Book of Medivh again, laying down a lot of anti-detection spells. Aluneth was right. If Kadger wanted to, he might indeed be able to trace back to the space-time coordinates here. And now, for this senior brother in the actual sense. After all, I just wanted to steal something from someone, so it's better not to meet. Whoa, look what I saw. A spell book. And it's clearly from the keeper, that Medivh. The son of that crazy woman in Egwin, really. Alan sensed the existence of the Book of Medivh and shouted. Wonderful arcane energy. Don't pull me, I'm going to kill it. No one is pulling you. If you can do it, you can do whatever you want. After finishing what he was doing, Satoru turned back to look at Alan's, who was flickering with all his might, but could not move in mid-air, and couldn't help showing a smirk. Hey. I remember, you have already exhausted your energy to seal Sargeras' great sword? Alan suddenly stopped yelling. Wu touched his chin and circled around the holy staff, scanning it with scrutiny. You can't even move autonomously now, you just retain consciousness. Tisk tisk, look, the great Aluneth, the guardian Egwin's partner, a powerful arcane artifact, is so reluctant to even light up the arcane brilliance. Enlightenment just looked at it, but didn't touch it, so Alan's couldn't help but be seductive. Son, it seems that you know me very well. The great Aluneth is very relieved. After being in trouble, it finally didn't fall into the hands of a bumpkin archmage. This is our luck. This world is full of magic, just waiting for you to grab it, and I can help you. You are right, in order to deal with the dark power of the fallen titan, I sacrificed my strength. But that short-sighted stupid mortal mage actually threw the great me into the goblin bank, with those expired potions and moldy armor piles. This is simply a blasphemy against the great Aluneth. No matter what, I can be regarded as an artifact that saved the world. My selfless sacrifice has made me weak, and he treats me like this. The 3 arcane crystals of Aluneth shone with rapid light, as if this existence was very angry. It's really short-sighted. And you, I think you are destined to achieve great things. As long as you and I join hands, we will surely achieve extraordinary achievements, achievements that attract worldwide attention. Arcane energies are woven into this world, feel it, child. Together we can transform the world. You have enough nonsense. Satoru looked at Ailens with a strange expression and tried his best to promote himself. The purpose was just to let Satoru provide it with strength. It has lost its powerful arcane energy for too long. As for being thrown into the bank, Satoru did the same back then. Since you know me so well, you will definitely know that in order to control an unruly entity like me, you must be extremely precise, rigorous, and dedicated. A mage with mediocre qualifications is definitely hopeless to control me. But fortunately, you are not mediocre, you can even start a cross-border tug of war with this guardian at this age. That stinky crow stick is far less powerful than me, so I was able to easily replace its summoning anchor with the little remaining power. Child, don't you think our meeting is a wonderful fate? Ailens continued to babble and seduce Wu. As long as he could gain the trust of the young archmage and regain his strength, there would be hope. At that time, in this brand new world without the Blue Dragon Legion, without the Kirin Tor Council, and without the Guardians of Tirisfal, it will be free to do whatever it wants. Stinky crow stick? You also know that you only have a little bit of power left? Enlightenment's complexion became strange. If you really cooperate with me, I may not be able to realize your little wish someday in the future. Of course, in the hands of the last short-sighted user, I have also done a good job with him. I'm immortal, and what could be worse than being in the Goblin Bank, right? It's a pity that you didn't bring all the gold coins from that guy's bank. Wu made a fuss, stretched out his hand to hold the handle of Aluneth's staff, and poured powerful arcane power into it. As you said, our meeting was a wonderful fate. It's really exciting to control you again. Boom. With the cooperation of the Book of Medivh, almost endless arcane power was poured into the dry body of Aluneth. This arcane power flows through my body. Not enough, I want more. I drink magic, I can't get enough. I am, Ailens. Boom. The radiant arcane brilliance erupted, and Aluneth, who was infused with powerful arcane energy, showed its advanced form. The beautiful spaceship-like head of the staff shines with charming arcane brilliance. Boy, you're very ambitious, just like your XX. That's fine. Now, we can work together to create miracles. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziyu. Chapter 275. Chapter 275 Portal, Open. When Satoru appeared in the Hall of Hokage holding Ailens, Hiruzen Sarutobi's eyes could not help but be attracted by the gorgeous staff of the Guardian. This is... How is it? Handsome or not, third generation? Wu General Ailens held a wand, and the charming arcane fragments scattered in the air. This good looks, tisk tisk, crush your Vajra wishful stick. Sarutobi Hiruzen had blue veins jumping on his forehead. Wu, this guy has become more stable recently, but after holding the stick, he seemed to jump off again. Tisk tisk, is this what you said, the spellcaster of this world? Child, I have to tell you that their strength is too dependent on the body, and great strength should not be a burden on the body. Look at that woman in Iguin, how long has she lived? The mortal in front of him will face a decline in status soon. The form of their power doesn't seem to match their bloodlines. It's just that this power called chakra is much easier to learn than arcane power. Aluneth was also observing the first ninja it saw, and quickly made its own judgment. Interesting idea, if the bloodlines match, maybe they can exert more powerful power. Children, find more people like this, and study hard. Knowledge is power, and in a strange world, there is nothing more exciting than discovering new rules. Except for absorbing the energy of this world. Hey, don't make me sound like a Frankenstein, I already have some ideas about the research, I'll talk about it later. The most important thing now is to end the war, and then we have time to think about it. There is no way for outsiders to know about the dialogue between Enlightenment and Aluneth in the spiritual realm, just like the Book of Medivh has never been seen by outsiders. But, son, I understand all this, but can you stop using me so rudely and unartistically? I am a staff, do you understand the staff? Although my body is indestructible, I don't think it's a good idea for an archmage to use a staff for physical attacks. Cough, don't pay attention to those details, I found that my spirit is a little active recently, is it because of you? He, don't worry about those details. Woo, are you ready? Sarutobi Hiruzen's question made Satoru pause the bickering with Ailens. He beat Ailens on the ground, and nodded confidently. That's right, now I only need to select a location, I will anchor the positioning coordinates, and then I can open the infinite portal to all major stations at the same time. I will use the power of the dragon vein to stabilize the portal, even if the powerful energy of the tailed beast jade passes through, it will not interfere. Son, have you ever thought about opening a portal to other worlds? Although it's a bit close now, but with my help, you will have this power soon. Why do you open it? Take a long-term view. This world is a huge treasure. If you guard the treasure and don't dig it out, open the door and steal it. Wow, you're smart, boy, the mighty power didn't confuse your eyes, so I say, you have a bright future. Very good, then, let's go to the number 0 training ground, and I will send Umbu to be your guard. How long can it last? A cold look flashed across Sarutobi's face. The 4 countries have been rampant for so long, it's time to pay the price. Theoretically, there should be no problem for a week, but my own combat power is lacking, so it's okay. Wu shook the holy staff in his hand. Originally, he only had the ability to maintain the portal for 3 or 4 days, but even if his strength was far from recovered, Ailens could help him greatly extend the duration of the portal. Very good, it won't take so long. As for your lack of combat power, I will send Shuomao out. Hiruzuru Sarutobi stroked his beard, his old face turned into an old chrysanthemum with a smile. Wu, you contributed a lot to this war. If you didn't have your portal, if you want to end the war, the sacrifice of the village must be increased by at least dozens of times. That guy Onaki is still entangled with AI. The preparation of the portal at this time is the key to the decisive victory of the war. When necessary, I can even go to the front line myself. 3 generations, there is no need for that. Satoru looked at Hiruzuru Sarutobi seriously. As Konoha, who is about to become the victor, if you go out in person, the war situation we have painstakingly created will greatly reduce the deterrent power. The other 4 cages went to the front line in person, and we Konoha Hokage never showed up, so we can block them all back. They will understand what this means. Hee. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't say any more, of course he was also looking forward to this form of victory. Crushing Bureau. Very well, then, let's begin. Hidden Leaf Village, Training Ground number 0. The number 0 practice field is located in the middle security circle of Konoha, the northwest corner of Konoha Conference Hall. Now, the huge practice field is firmly guarded by all members of Umbu. And Satoru's father, Mito Minyan, led the root members to sit in the town. Even Hiruza Sarutobi, the 3rd generation of Hokage, conducts war scheduling in the large conference hall not far away. In the middle of the practice field, Satoru had already drawn a huge teleportation magic circle, the chakra metal staff was inserted in the middle of the circle, and the positioning arcane rune on the top was shining. Son, that's a good idea. I'm very relieved that you didn't follow the old path of using arcane energy roughly like previous guardians. Enlightenment was busy, but Aelins commented. The guardian possesses powerful arcane energy, but it is all inherited from the ancestors. The guardian of this generation is very good. He resisted the temptation of powerful power, and boarded the guardian with a mortal body. Although not that strong, every ounce of his strength comes from himself. It seems that you have chosen the same path. Didn't you always want to tempt me to absorb powerful arcane energy? How did you switch sex? Wu Hui retorted, the power that this guy possesses now, compared with its heyday, it is simply impossible to look directly at it, so Wu can control it with confidence. But this guy obviously didn't give up the idea of restoring his strength. Hee, child, we are collaborators. The so-called cooperation is a win-win situation. If I still have the power I used to have, I don't need you to work hard. But now, the stronger you are, the faster you can find a more powerful arcane energy source, and the faster I can recover my strength. I am still very clear about this. Very well, then, let's start our first cooperation now. After making all the preparations, Satoru let out a long breath, and on the Aelins that was held high, a powerful light that even covered the entire practice field burst out. Portal, open. Boom. Following Wu's resounding incantation, 4 huge portals comparable to the Hokage building were lined up in the center of the test field. After the portal, the ninjas at the corresponding locations are displayed. Fugake Uchiha of the Wind Line of Defense, Hinatan Nisashi of the Earth Defense Line, Jiraiya and Namikaze Minato of the Thunder Line of Defense, Orochimaru and Nawaki of the Water Line of Defense. Besides Satoru, wearing twin ponytails, wearing an enchanted combat vest, and a magic necklace, the heroic Tsunade appeared in front of everyone behind the portal. Finally it's my turn, let the war end. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 276. Chapter 276. With the opening of the infinite portal, the situation of the war has completely changed. If the low-power portal originally maintained by arcane crystals could only help Konoha to treat the seriously wounded and transmit information in time, then the infinite portal now is the real war killer. Self-maintained by Wu Wu and supported by the energy of the dragon veins, the 4 portals do not limit the number of people and materials that can pass through. As long as the volume of the portal can pass, there is no problem at all. In this way, Konoha's forces in the 4 major battlefields have been integrated into one in the sense of space. Konoha was able to fight against the powerful war power of the 4 countries separately, but now the 4 are combined into one, which is not something that any country can resist. The first to face Konoha's attack was the Water Country army on the eastern coast. Compared with the army of the Land of Wind, which was isolated by the Kingdom of Kawa and blocked by the Land of Rain, the army of the Land of Earth and the Land of Thunder, which had been retreated by Tsuchikage and Raikage, only lost the 7 ninja swordsmen, and the 3rd Mizukage still guarded them personally. The country of water on the front line is the most threatening. After all, their battlefield is still in the Land of Fire. Backed by the sea, relying on the powerful logistics and intelligence support of unknown forces, the army of the country of water is not like the other 3 countries, and the defense line is slowly pushed out of the country of fire by Konoha. The line of defense against Sand Hidden and Iwa Hidden remains unchanged, and Minami Namikaze replaces Jiraiya to preside over the defense line against Union Village. Jiraiya and Tsunade in Konoha use the portal to appear in front of Orochimaru. The Konoha Sunin, who are no longer what they used to be, have joined forces again after many years, and once again demonstrated textbook-like coordinated operations for the Konoha ninjas. Their joint raid severely injured 3 generations of Mizukage, and even forced him to flee in embarrassment. And after that, Sunin led Konoha's superior force in one place, and wiped out the invading Wien village ninjas in one go. The third Mizukage is worthy of being Mizukage, and his first-hand water escape ninjutsu is superb. With the blessing of the sea, even if the 3 ninjas joined forces, they could not keep him. But even so, he knew that time was running out. The last vitality erupted, and he directly crossed the sea and returned to Wien village, which made his injury, which he had hoped for, completely wounded to the root. Damn, Konoha Sunin, why did they all appear suddenly? Why is there no news about those guys? 3 generations of Mizukage's eyes were bloodshot. He made it hard to land on the land of the Kingdom of Water, and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the old man can still last for a while. The inheritance of Wien village cannot be cut off. Wien village attaches great importance to inheritance, especially the inheritance of Shuiying. The second generation of Mizukage Ghost Lantern Huanyu died of serious injuries after the battle with the second generation of Tsuchikage Mu, or died together. He has a detached personality, unlike the calm second generation Tsuchikage, and he has not had time to explain many things. That's why the third generation of Water Shadows is so low-key, working hard to reproduce the glory of Wien village. That's why the 3 generations of Mizukage did not hesitate to hurt the root, but also forcibly crossed the sea and returned to Wien village, in order not to repeat the same mistakes, and let the Mizukage of Wien village pass on, and there will be no more problems. However, it may take quite a long time for Wien village to slowly recover after this battle. The third Mizukage looked gloomy at the allies that slowly emerged in front of him. You dare to appear in front of this old man. Although the white guy in front of him was a little different from the previous ones, Mizukage was sure that this guy with the circle face was one of them. Mizukage-sama Mizukage, I'm sorry we didn't notice Konoha's raid this time. Konoha Sunin's confluence, there is no sign at all. Behind Baiju's circled face came a hoarse old voice. Even if they can be teleported by the Flying Thunder God technique, it is impossible for so many troops to be teleported by this method. You think an apology will be useful? No. Of course the old man doesn't think so. Old man? You, who are you? The third Mizukage became vigilant, the tone and attitude of the guy who came this time. Are you the person behind those guys before? The answer is correct. However, the old man thinks that we can continue to cooperate. Hee, are you kidding me? Get out of the way. Mizukage laughed angrily. At this time, the other party was still teasing him. The old man is not interested in your so-called cooperation now. The old man wants to go back to the village. In the final analysis, this matter is because the old man is too greedy. Relying on you is worse than relying on yourself. No. Now, it's not that you can't cooperate if you say you don't cooperate. Baizi's circular face opened like tentacles, revealing Uchiha Madara's old face. And now, reflected in the eyes of the horrified Mizukage of the third generation, is a pair of scarlet Sanguya Sharinan. The harvest this time is not small, so let's test it. The Battle of the Country of Water was finalized, and Konoha concentrated his forces and wiped out the troops of Union Village and Yanyan Village in just 3 days at an astonishing speed. But on the second day, Sand Hidden Village, which has 4 generations of Kazekage and Puppet Master Cho, suddenly launched a full-scale attack on Konoha's defense line. Thus, the old opponent of Hidden Sand Village, Konoha White Fang Heitake Sakumo, came to the front line against Hidden Sand Village through the portal. Uchiha Fugaku fought against the 4th Kazekage Raza, while Heitake Sakumo faced Cho, who hated him deeply. Cho's strength is not comparable to that of his son and daughter-in-law. With the addition of hatred and years of tactical research for revenge, Cho's attack, even with Heitake Sakumo's strength, is not easy to deal with. Moreover, Just half a day after Heitake Sakumo appeared on the front line, a person that no one expected also appeared on the front line. Scorpion. Is that you? Cho's eyes widened excitedly. She hadn't seen Sun Zixi for many years. If she hadn't been able to inquire about him occasionally in the country of Chuan, she almost thought he would die outside. Ah, old woman, I'm still alive. There was a trace of coldness on Xie Zhengzhu's face. He didn't care about Cho's eager eyes, but stared at Heitake Sakumo holding the chakra dagger. Old woman, I still have to avenge my parents, revenge myself. You are old. Scorpio, although you are a genius, Heitake Sakumo is not. Cho couldn't continue. She opened her mouth wide and watched in shock as Scorpion took out a scroll and summoned a puppet in a black robe. That is. The fourth Kazekage Raza, who was fighting Uchiha Fugaku, also noticed the appearance of the Scorpion. And just when he was delighted that his side had added a powerful force, reality slapped him hard. 3 generations. As a disciple of the 3 generations of Kazekage, how could he fail to recognize his teacher? Luo Sha's roar woke up Cho. She covered her mouth with trembling hands. Scorpion. The 3rd generation is missing, it's you. Ah, that's right, not only did he stop me from seeking revenge on White Fang, but he was also immoral and incompetent, failing to protect the village well. A sharp light flashed in the eyes of the Scorpion, and the chakra puppet line on the fingertips was linked to the puppet. So, I killed him and made him a human puppet. Let me use the puppet of the 3rd generation to kill Konoha, so that the 2 of them can make atonement. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziyu. Chapter 277. Chapter 277 The Red Sand Scorpion. Over the years, Xie has been wandering, and exercising in the complex environment of the Kawa no country. While honing his puppet skills, he was also patiently waiting for Sakumo Heitake to appear. A few years ago, Heitake Sakumo was a full-time Hokage guard, and he rarely went out on missions at all. Even if he did, they were mostly classified missions. In this way, Scorpion has no way of knowing his location. No matter how conceited Xie was, he knew very well that single-handedly running into Konoha and killing Konoha was something that even a storyteller dared not tell. The outbreak of the Third Ninja World War gave Scorpio an opportunity, but Konoha's strong strength prevented Heitake Sakumo from appearing on the front line at all. Finally, when Konoha was about to end the war in one go, Heitake Sakumo finally appeared. Scorpion will naturally not let go of this opportunity. Scorpion. You bastard. When you appear here, don't you think that you will die for the 3rd generation? The 4th Kazekage Raza stared at the 3rd Kazekage, who had been transformed into a puppet with teary eyes. Under the control of the Scorpion, the human puppet actually activated the magnetic escape secret technique that the 3 generations of Kazekage were famous for, manipulating the iron sand. Luo Sha didn't even care about thinking about what kind of incredible puppet technology this was. He even wanted to put down Uchiha Fugaku, who was facing him, and kill this guy who murdered the 3rd generation with his own hands. The rebellion of your village. Luo Sha immediately characterized Xie. From the moment he admits that the 3rd generation of Kazekage died at his hands, Xie can only be the rebellious and endless enemy of Sand Hidden Village. 4 generations. Cho hurriedly called out. This matter, please. There is no room for negotiation, Advisor Cho. Don't forget what kind of danger the village has encountered due to the disappearance of the 3rd generation. Luo Sha's resolute decision cut off the last trace of luck in Cho's heart. Of course she also knew that Xie couldn't get rid of the crime no matter what. It is not even an exaggeration to say that Scorpion killed the 3rd Kazekage, which was the fuse of the 3rd Ninja War that swept almost the entire ninja world. Not to mention that she is just a consultant of the Hidden Sand Village. Even if she is Fenying, she can't bear this responsibility. If Luo Sha hadn't stepped forward in the surprise attack led by the 3rd generation of Raikage in Union Village, What would Cheyenne village look like now? Joe didn't dare to think anymore. From now on, his own grandson, Xia, would also be his enemy. Although she is old, she has this consciousness, and she must have this consciousness. Heh, so it turns out that the third generation of Kazekage from your hidden sand village disappeared and made such a big commotion because of this kid. As Logosha's attention turned to the newly appearing scorpion, Uchiha Fugaku didn't take the opportunity to step up the offensive, but gradually broke away from the battle, watching the upcoming internal strife in Sand Hidden Village. Speaking of it, fourth generation, you should also thank this kid, otherwise, you will have to wait a long time if you want to be promoted. Logosha turned her head abruptly, and sneered. The Uchiha Patriarch, have you learned to play tricks? I'm just telling the truth. How about it? Should we suspend the attack and give your hidden sand village time to clean up the door? Since the conversation with Satoru, Uchiha Fugaku has changed his dull and preoccupied appearance before, and he has become much more flexible in combat. For the Uchiha clan who are good at illusion, they don't mind letting the enemy fall into the wonderful scene of cannibalism. That, Captain Fuyu. Before the angry Logosha could speak, Heitake Sakumo's voice sounded. He scratched his head in embarrassment, and looked at his eyes full of hatred, but he hadn't lost his mind yet, and was still guarding against Logosha's scorpion. This child's goal is me. Hatred, once planted, is not so easy to untie. Thinking of the scene of killing the puppet master couple back then, Heitake Sakumo looked at the scorpion in front of him, and thought of his son Kakashi. Just like back then. For me, what happened back then was just to complete the task and fight against the enemy, but for the child in front of me, it really changed his life. He couldn't help feeling a little scared. Back then, if it wasn't Wu who led his juniors to show up in time when the rumors spread, and discovered and thwarted Danzo's plot in advance, what would have happened to him? Back then, I really had the idea of finishing it all. What would happen to Kakashi if he really did this? Will he become the same as the red-haired boy in front of him? Slowly pulling out the chakra dagger that glowed with white light, White Fang appeared in front of the sand-hidden ninjas again, and many ninjas who participated in the last war couldn't help but recall the horror of being dominated by this man in front of them. As a Konoha ninja, I have no regrets about what happened back then. But as a father and an ordinary person, I must give an explanation to the boy in front of me. Master Cho, this matter is the same for you too, the pain of losing a child. I can't even imagine that there will be such a day. Pointing forward with the dagger, Heitake Sakumo smiled slightly. Then, let's end it together this time. Captain Fuyu, it won't be long, then for the rest of the time, let me and their grandfather and grandson make a break. No matter what the result is, Konoha White Fang will not escape. Uchiha Fugaku opened his mouth slightly, but didn't say anything. Even Logosha on the opposite side was attracted by Heitake Sakumo's arrogant speech, not to mention Cho and Scorpion who hated him deeply. At this moment, no one paid attention to Uchiha Fugaku. In the scarlet eyes, complicated patterns flashed past. Uchiha Fugaku rubbed the purple crystal in his hand, sighed, and shook his head gently. Mr. Shuomao, if you insist. That's as you wish, but I must set up the insurance. Thanks. Konoha White Fang. You are too arrogant. The scorpion who controlled the puppet of the third Kazekage laughed angrily, and now he can't care about the threat of the fourth Kazekage. In fact, Logosha was even frowning and thinking, not as aggressive as before. Killing Konoha Baiga, and cleaning up the house in the middle of the war for a third generation who was confirmed dead, as Kazekage, Logosha had to think carefully after being furious. Scorpion. That's Konoha White Fang. Don't take it lightly. Cho took out the scroll that sealed the 10 people of Kimatsu. In the last battle in the Land of Rain, the 10 people of Kimatsu were seriously damaged, and they were repaired only recently. Secret white technique, 10 people from Kimatsu. Humph. So, you are already old woman. I am the scorpion of red sand. Xie snorted coldly, and the puppet of the 3 generations of Fenjiangmen stepped forward, and a large piece of black iron sand gushed out of its mouth, making Luo Sha's eyes twitch wildly again. The iron sand flew into the sky, quickly forming a huge net of dense long thorns. Magnetic escape sand iron realm. Xie waved his hands. He had already noticed that Luo Sha didn't come to stop him. He laughed loudly. Konoha. Today is your death day. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 278. Chapter 278. The Crane of the Sand. When Wu's mirror image clone arrived, what he saw was such a tragic battle scene. Uchiha Fugaku is still confronting the 4th Kazekage Raza, while Konoha Hakuga Hatake Sakumo, single-handedly, fights Sandakan's advisor Cho, and the Akazago Scorpion who controls the 3rd Kazekage's puppet. Konoha, who has untied the knot in his heart, is no longer the previous Konoha. Now, although he doesn't have the immortal or secret art inheritance of the Sunin, his attack power in duels is still not weaker than them. Sunin is growing, so why not Konoha? Nearly half of the 10 people in Kimatsu had been lost under the White Fang dagger, and the powerful 3-generation Kazekage puppet had also lost an arm. In the final analysis, although the current Jo is still at the peak, she does not have the mentality of giving up everything without worrying about it. What Xie had done had disturbed the mind of this Shayin consultant. And the Red Sand Scorpion is not the crazy puppet master who has transformed his own body into a puppet, nor has he created a puppet technique of the scale of Red Secret Technique 100 machines performing. And Sakumo Hatake, who has disappeared for many years, is no longer the Konoha White Fang in their impression. Teacher Shuomao is still injured. Satoru's mirror image clone appeared next to Uchiha Fugaku, and the face of Shide Kazekage Raza on the opposite side was ugly. He hadn't realized that the one in front of him was just a clone of Wu. He has a very deep understanding of how tricky Konoha's great mage is. Although last time, in order to give the 3 of Yahiko a chance to perform, Satoru was just playing support and releasing water. So, to be on the safe side, I asked for support. Fuyu shrugged. The appearance of Wu's mirror image here is not to use the strength of a mere clone to change the situation of the battle. But what the avatar brings, can be done. Archmage. You have appeared again. Luo Sha gritted his teeth fiercely. The appearance of Wu gave him a strong sense of urgency. Konoha's recent offensive tends to be defensive, and what the spies found out is that Konoha's defensive force has decreased a lot. Therefore, Luo Sha judged that Konoha encountered a situation where he had to divide his troops to support him in other battlefields. Even Hatake Sakumo's sudden appearance didn't surprise him. Konoha White Fang has guarded Hokage for many years, and even he needs to go to the battlefield in person, which shows that Konoha really has no soldiers to use. Therefore, Luo Sha will lead the troops to attack decisively, hoping to break through Konoha's line of defense. Although the appearance of the scorpion made it hard for Luo Sha to get off the tiger for a while, but Hatake Sakumo's initiative to fight, just fulfilled his wish. He wished that brat and Konoha would die together. But now, Konoha's archmage Mito Mongo appears here. Could it be? Could it be that my judgment was wrong? No. This may be an opportunity. With a flash in his mind, Luo Sha decided not to give up this opportunity. The floating gold dust forms a special secret symbol, and some of the sand-hidden ninjas went down to carry out Kazekage's order. So, I'm very busy, and it's difficult for you to do things like this. What Satoru's mirror image clone held in his hand was the projected clone of a luneth. As an arcane artifact, such a little skill, a luneth is very skillful in using it. But enlightenment calls it schizophrenia. Wow, boy, is this the battle of the spellcasters of this world? Unsurprisingly, a luneth started chattering about the new things he saw. Brutal, rough, and without a sense of elegance, What's the difference between this and those muscular barbarians who can only wield knives and guns? The powerful arcane energy derivation is used by them like this? What a waste of money. Come on, there are still titans who are good at hand-to-hand combat, so what is this? Most of Wu's energy was focused on Luo Sha, who was quietly condensing the gold dust, and the changes in his complexion and small movements did not hide from Wu's eyes. Compared to this, isn't the guy in front of you equivalent to a evocation system mage? That's true, but there are too many unnecessary things in his way of using energy, and they don't seem to have the concept of element at all. It's a pity that the vision limited to entities limits their development. How long has the magic civilization been? 10,000 years, 100,000 years, or longer? Ninjutsu appeared here only a few hundred years ago. Satoru frowned. He had already seen Arisa Kinja pushing something like a prison cart coming forward. And on the prison van, it's a skinny old monk with a white beard. Ha! Look what I feel. A huge source of energy. Alans yelled in surprise, which surprised Wuxin. What? He, child, you are still too young. This special arcane-derived energy was sealed in that old man's body. Oh, look, it's wonderful. What life form is this? Is it a special energy creature? A unique shape, a creation that is completely different from the Titans. Enlightenment no longer cared about Alan's continuing to talk. He stared at the old monk in the prison car, and had already guessed the identity of the other party. Fourth Kazekage-sama, is this the Renzuriki of your hidden sand village? Uchiha Fugaku beside him showed surprise, his scarlet eyes turned to the old monk, and the three hook jades of Sherinan slowly rotated. I've heard that there has been a seal in hidden sand village since ancient times, the guardian crane of the sand. Is this the contemporary Hinjiriki? Frowning, Fuyu's Sherinan has already seen the old monk's physical condition. It doesn't look like it has combat effectiveness. Renzhuli, sometimes without combat power, is even more troublesome. Wu pinched the center of his brows, knowing the mind of the fourth Kazekage. He had already guessed what the other party would do next. Such a big prison car is definitely not Renzuli's special hobby. Fourth Kazekage-sama, don't make mistakes. You made a mistake? Monk Fenfu was sent in the prison car. Luo Sha sneered, and ignored Wu's warning, but turned to the prison car. Fenfu, I'll give you another chance to use Shikaku's power to break through the Konoha line of defense in front of you. Fourth generation, I'm sorry. Monk Fenfu clasped his hands together, closed his eyes, and responded in a low voice. Stinky monk, are you an idiot? A guarding crane in his body couldn't bear it anymore, and the huge civet cat's head protruded onto the image of Fenfu's spiritual world. Fourth Kazekage is a cruel guy, if you disagree. If I agree, then what is the difference between me and those who use you as a weapon? Hello. Monk, you are a person recognized by my uncle. I don't mind, if this goes on, you will. Blessing. Facing the enemy, do you still have to be obsessed with it? Enemy. We are the invaders, right? Fenfu stopped responding to Luo Sha's roar, and began to recite scriptures in a low voice. People's heart is received, which is love, between people, each other, However, the spikes made of placer gold pierced Monk Fenfu's abdomen. The powerful magnetic force completely destroyed Izuo's seal. A cold light flashed across Luo Sha's eyes. In this case, Renzhuli is useless. Stinky monk. No. Amidst the endless howls of anger, the gigantic sand shrine crane appeared in the open space that had been left by the sand-hidden ninjas. After losing the tail of his spiritual friend, he ran away. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 279. Chapter 279 Itaki Uchiha. Ichio Shikaku, who was caught in a rampage, would not be merciful because Konoha ninja and Sand Hidden ninja were different. For it, the only human it recognized died in front of it, so the remaining humans were all the same. They are all the same guys who can be listed as targets for destruction. As for the instigator, the fourth Kazekage Raza, although he didn't know that he regarded Fenfu as a friend, but he was very aware of the risks faced by breaking the seal on Renzuli and using the magnetic escape to extract the tailed beast. That's why Saiyin retreated as a whole before Shikaku appeared, and all of Shikaku's anger was poured on Konoha's defense troops. Sure enough, cold and ruthless, Satoru stopped Fugaku Uchiha, who couldn't help but want to go forward, waved Ailans in his hand, and a huge figure appeared in front of the front-line ninjas. This is a war mecha. The war mech, not much smaller than Shutsuru, held two knives and met the runaway tailed beast. Fugaku Uchiha breathed a sigh of relief quietly. Just now, he almost couldn't help but exposed his true strength. But he was still a little uncertain why Wu stopped him. Although up to now, he has some new calculations about the opportunity of the Uchiha clan that Satoru said. However, having experienced previous errors in deduction, he now has some reservations about what he sees with his own eyes. Captain Fu, that's all I can do with this avatar, but it's fine to hold Shikaku for a while. Enlightenment's main body is maintaining the portal, and the strength of the mirror image clone will also be weakened a lot, but the existence of the Iluneth projection makes up for this shortcoming, allowing him to summon war mechs that only the main body could summon in the past. It's such a pity, if your main body comes over and takes this huge energy source into your pocket, what a wonderful thing it would be. The projection of Iluneth is seductive again. Your war mech has some novel technologies in it, it's not worse than the creations of the High Elves, but it's still too crude. This kind of rough preparation for large-scale war is the right way only if it has a strong energy source to support it. Although its energy source is already very strong, compared with this big guy, it is still a little bit worse. Satoru resolutely ignored Ailen's temptation, and really caught Shuhi, this guy must suck half of it first. Then the fourth Kazekage will leave it to you, as long as one day. Looking at the sun that was about to set, Wu smiled slightly. No, half a day is fine when the sun rises, the third ninja war will end where it started. Is there no problem with Mr. Shuomao? Uchiha Fugaku has to admit that although he is very confident in his own strength, if he faces the current Heitake Sakumo, the outcome is still unpredictable. However, the strength of the other two puppet masters is really strong, especially the puppet masters will have certain advantages over him who is good at illusion. It seems that there is no problem. Mr. Shuomao's demeanor is still the same as before, and I am here to do insurance, so you can rest assured. Under Luo Sha's complicated eyes, Wu waved his staff at the opponent seemingly casually, then put on a posture of watching a show, and retreated outside the battle circle. In addition to commanding war mechs, it is also a deterrent. Seeing that the tail beast summoned by sacrificing Renzuli was instantly dispelled by the opponent, Luo Sha couldn't help feeling a sense of powerlessness. Every time he appears, all our efforts will be in vain. Luo Sha clenched his fists tightly. Although he could see that the situation of the Archmage opposite him was a bit strange, he never thought that the other party was just a clone. Seeing that Uchiha Fugaku stepped forward again and expressed his intention to face him, Luo Sha couldn't help but sigh in his heart. The gap between me, Sagakure, and Konoha, is getting bigger and bigger. The fierce battle on the front line is not limited to high-end combat forces. The fighting of ordinary ninjas is even more dangerous than the fighting of strong ones. The 4-year-old Uchiha Itachi was brought to the front line by Satoru himself according to his parents' wishes before the portal opened. As the son of the Uchiha patriarch, Itachi has been a very thoughtful little guy since he was a child. Moreover, I don't know if Satoru's plan played a role. Although the current Itachi still likes to think, he seems to be a little less dazed. In the original timeline, the young Itaka lived under the discipline of the majestic and serious Uchiha Fugaku, and had less contact with the outside world. But now the ferret has a conspicuous pet at his feet. Enlightenment's special customized version of Flame Civet. Speaking of which, Satoru also had some dealings with the black market businessman Cat Granny, who cooperated with the Uchiha clan because of the problem of the structural civet pet. The ruler of the ninja cat, after seeing the flame civet from Itaka, took the initiative to get in touch with Enlightenment, hoping to ask for one. Because she has grandchildren who are about to be born, and her son is always worried about the bad influence the ninja cats will have on the pregnant woman. So although my daughter-in-law likes ninja cats very much, her son is determined not to allow ninja cats to get close, which makes her very distressed. The structure civet solves this problem very well, but in the eyes of the cat mother-in-law, this little thing is not intelligent enough. The difference between it and a real cat is too great. The cat mother-in-law learned from Mikoto that Wu is very fond of cats, so she successfully obtained another civet gifted by Wu on the condition that she provided data on the living habits of ninja cats to help Wu perfect the structure of the civet. Therefore, the flame civet next to Itaka is an upgraded version. Not only does it have the same behavior and habits as a real ninja cat, but it is also a real smart assistant for children. Xiaohuo, tell me, why do ninjas kill each other? Even for the victory of the war, the Kaze cage of sand hidden can decisively sacrifice the old man in his own village. Itaka looked at the sand ninja who fell in front of him. His body was covered with traces of burning flames. This was the fire magic attack of the arcane civet. And his fatal wound was a kunao hit by Itaka himself. And I didn't do anything, this ninja wants to kill me. Why? Meow, in war, there are only the enemy and ourselves, and there is no choice. If it is judged as the enemy's target, no matter what the meaning is, it can only be fought. The flame civet little fire licked its paws and answered Itaka's question. As Itaka's pet and bodyguard, Xiaohuo's damage is not very high, but its early warning ability is first class. At the same time, it was created by part of the principle of Wu Yiying's clone, and it has a certain degree of autonomous intelligence. Master Patriarch and Master Wu are both working hard to end the war as soon as possible, and you have to work hard. A meaningless fight between strangers, is this a war? That's right, this is war, this is the world of ninjas. Itaka was sighing in a low voice when he heard another voice appear. Mr. Wu. Itaka turned his head in surprise, and Satoru's mirror image appeared behind him holding the projection of a luneth. It seems that Xiaohuo still played some role. Wu squatted down, touched the flame civet that saluted him, raised his head and smiled slightly at Itaka. In such a hopeless ninja world, you're about to start realizing it now, this is the negligence of our generation. However, this situation will soon end. How about it, Itaka, are you interested in changing the world with me? Guardians of Tirisfal of Konoha. Author, Ziujian. Chapter 280. Chapter 280 Uchiha Shisui. Change the world? The 4-year-old Itaka couldn't imagine such a big subject, and was stunned for a moment. Tisk, child, you have grown up, have you become so proficient at seducing little ghosts? Unsurprisingly, Alans became excited again. What kind of Uchiha clan? I am very interested in their eyes. That fierce-faced guy, his eyes have a taste of creation. This is his son? Are you finally planning to start research as a kid? Don't say that I'm like a perverted scientist, this kid is even more talented than his father, and he's a smart kid, so he deserves more attention from me. He didn't even open his Sharingan eyes, what kind of experimental subject should I use him for? Wu reluctantly replied to Alans, but the smell of creation it mentioned made Wu sure that it was the power of Yin Dun. Being able to be noticed by a luneth, it is the power of kaleidoscope Sharingan that has not escaped. Speaking of experiments, there are better candidates. Leaving the battlefield with Itaki, who was still a little confused, he glanced at a certain place on the battlefield without any trace. The 7-year-old Uchiha Shisui has a pair of beautiful phoenix eyes and a dumpling nose that is relatively rare in the Uchiha clan, making him look very cute when he was young. But for the lovely Uchiha Shisui, his eyes are bloody red, and 3 black jades rotate slowly, providing powerful blessings for his various illusions. Now he is not just a child of the Uchiha clan, but a new genius of the Uchiha clan who already has his own name. Quick Body and Still Water was the title given to him by his enemies when he was only 7 years old. Although it is only limited to this battlefield, all Uchiha people believe that this name will soon spread throughout the world. But if it were Shisui himself, he would rather not have this pair of 3 jade sharing eyes. This is the power obtained at a heavy price in exchange for the death or serious injury of teammates and relatives. When Shuhei was released by Fenying Luasha, Shisui, who was close to the front line, once thought that his life was about to end, together with the companions around. But the turning point came just as quickly. Seeing the godlike war mech block the terrifying sand guard crane, Shisui has a new understanding of the great master Mito Mongo, who is constantly talking about in the clan. After all, there is still a gap between what the clansmen discussed and what Wu actually showed. Master Wu has always had a good reputation in the clan. This is one of the rare people. The clan members are not dissatisfied, but rather admired. Shisui wiped his sweat, stopped looking at the enemies who fell under his instant body and illusion, and turned to support other companions. It wasn't until I had the Sanguya Sharinan not long ago that I realized that Master Wu has such a deep connection with our Uchiha clan. As for the patriarch, he seems to have a good friendship with Wu. Sir Wu's contribution to the war is simply subversive, and it's no wonder that the always proud clansmen have such an attitude. Not only in the clan, but even in the whole village, how many people do not admire Mr. Wu? The scope of the defense line is very large, especially after the appearance of Shikaku and War Mecha. The combat scope of ordinary ninjas has been further expanded. The vicinity of the 2 behemoths has basically become their restricted area. Therefore, the target that Shisui needs to deal with is gradually moving away as he advances. It also gives the opportunity some people have been waiting for. Chi-Chi. Shishui's face was serious. Although he was young, he had experienced the baptism of brutal war and already possessed excellent fighting qualities. Who? Shisui activated the instant body technique, and instantly appeared in the opposite direction from the sound, holding a Konoha vigilance. Where the sound came out, under Shishui's vigilant gaze, a plant-like thing grew. Grass. Aloe. Shisui watched the weird object getting bigger and bigger, tightened the Konoha in his hand, and opened the Sanguya Sharinan. But it doesn't seem to get any useful information. The 2 leaves of the enlarged aloe vera opened, and the half-black and half-white ones appeared in front of Shisui. At this age, you have Sanguya Sharinan, what a genius among geniuses. Looking at the vigilant Shisui in front of him with satisfaction, Konoha, with the help of the newly appeared wireless portal, concentrated his superior forces to kill all directions, and had already killed the vital forces of Wuyan and Yunyan's invasion. Now, without accident, they will soon end their battle against Yunyan village and come here to end the war. And Uchiha Madara has just done a big thing, but there is nothing he can do about Konoha's mobility. Although it is possible to move at high speed by integrating with the earth by virtue of the Mayfly art, this is only Beige's ability, not Madara's. Therefore, it is okay to transfer a few people, but it is impossible to transfer the army based on this. Originally, Madara foresaw that the war would soon end with Konoha's overall victory, and he sent Ju over to remind his ally Hulyu, don't die on the battlefield. After all, the experimental base of Baileahu is in the country of Chuan. However, the appearance of Shikaku attracted Ju's attention, and with Madara's order, he came to the front line to take a look before entering the country of Kawa. What a coincidence, the tail beast matter can be put aside for now. Isn't this excellent Uchiha boy the most ideal representative of Madara-sama? Who are you? Zishui gave a cold drink. Although the guy opposite appeared in a weird way, he should undoubtedly be a ninja. But he is neither a Konoha ninja nor a sand-hidden ninja. That was done just now? Are you Yanyan's ninja? No, no, no. Little guy, you are from the Uchiha clan, right? What's your name? Never think about the investigation I did when I came to the Uchiha clan's defense line to steal Sharingan last time. At that time, there was no child in front of the Uchiha tribe in Sangoya's sharing eyes, so he should have obtained this power recently. I'm not a ninja from the 5 great nations, but I have a relationship with your Uchiha clan. I'm very pleased that you have such an outstanding young man in the Uchiha clan. Zishui's eyes twitched. What's the matter with this guy's old-timer tone? I am Uchiha Shisui, this is a battlefield, there is no need for a guy who hides his head and shows his tail. If you have an old relationship with our Uchiha clan, I can take you to see the Patriarch. He, Mr. Patriarch is busy fighting, and I have no interest in him. Although Ju is also quite puzzled by the fighting power shown by Uchiha Fugaku, Madara's target has always been young people who have not yet formed their 3 views and are easily influenced. Moreover, Madara knows very well that the purer and kinder Uchiha is, the more terrifying the power that erupts after the 3 views are reshaped. The little guy in front of him, at most 7 or 8 years old, has the Sangoya Sharingan. I'm here to take you, to look directly into the darkness in your heart.